And hello, South Florida. Welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Show, the TGIF edition of the Real Estate Show. That's right. That's 3 TGIFs. Thank God it's Florida. Thank God it's Friday. And after all, thank God it's finished. We got a great show today as we wrap up an exciting week talking about landlords. That's been the subject of this week, following an entire week talking about the moratorium and everything going on. So we're going to kind of wrap everything up. I got another new article that I came across that I thought was really interesting, and together with everything that we talked about, and we'll do sort of a high level review of the week. Remember, our show is live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. It is available 5 different ways at 5 p.m. 5 days a week. You can find us on the AM 1470 dial here in South Florida. You can find us on the FM dial, 95.3, 96.9. You can also find all of those on the apps that you have on your smart devices, tablets, phones, just download the free app wherever you get your apps from, the TuneIn app, the iHeartRadio app, very common, very popular. Even WWNN has their own free app that you can tune right in, one click button, and you're right here listening to the Real Estate Show. You can also listen to us on our website where we stream this show live. And all you have to do is go to automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. And then just go to the top of the page where it says the Real Estate Show. Click on that drop down. It'll give you the option to listen live if you're there at 5. You can also listen to any of our previously broadcasted show on demand. And you can even download one of our podcast versions of all of the shows where you can take us with you offline. So tons of different ways to listen to us every day. Get your daily dose of vitamin real estate right here on the Real Estate Show, on the air for the last 22 years, America's longest running daily radio show about real estate. And you can also watch us live on our Facebook page. And all you do is go to Facebook and search for The Real Estate Show. If you put it all together, capitalizing the first word of each word, the first letter of each word, but no spaces, it'll get you there faster. If you don't have a Facebook page, just type in facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. And if that wasn't enough, if you didn't get your daily dose every single day, one of those 5 different ways, there is a 6th day of the Real Estate Show, our Sunday night mega dose, where you have all 5 shows, all one back-to-back, starting from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. And you can listen to that show starting at 9 p.m. Now, that's the only place it won't be is on the Facebook Live, because it's not live. So we got a great rundown here. For the beginning of the week, our Mondays on a Mission, we always talk about what we're going to be talking about, give you the definitions, sort of the foundation and the groundwork. And of course, landlording, and that it was sort of the conversation at the beginning of the week. This particular market is particularly favorable to landlords. And all moratoriums aside, we talked and addressed that at length last week, but also understanding that the moratorium has, as a whole of the real estate market, and we're going to talk about those numbers. Fortunately, it isn't the majority; it is a minority, and so even in the worst case scenario, a federal moratorium on evictions, we have a very, very healthy real estate market, not just in the real estate market that people live in, but and own, but also in the rental market. And that's why I wanted to spend literally an entire week talking about this. And we started off also explaining that, even though the moratorium was finally reenacted, not renewed, because it's a brand new moratorium. So technically the CDC didn't lie when they said they weren't going to renew it, because they let the other one lapse and started a new one with new conditions and new verbiage. The effect is the same, but right away, real estate and landlord groups filed a number of legal actions to stop the administration's new eviction and moratorium, and we're going to see that unwind. Well, since this is only for 60 days, will the legal battle make its way through court fast enough, or will they accomplish what they wanted to do simply by, asking for forgiveness instead of for permission? And then that was sort of the groundwork on Monday, talking about this sort of the state of the real estate landlord, the rental business economy. Then we on Tuesday, I started breaking down why I'm saying that being a landlord now, becoming a landlord, if you're not a landlord now, is a particularly good time. And what I did is something that we teach to a lot of our coaching students, that we go into detail with a lot of our coaching and the consulting clients, is something called the real estate ladder. And it's sort of the ascension of real estate. Most people, when they buy these courses or they come in what I'll call fresh, often from these different educational programs, will get into something called wholesaling. And this is where they start in looking for deep discounted properties. And the reason that they come that is because they're led that way because that does not require any kind of credit, because you're not using your credit. It doesn't require large sums of down payment, although it helps. And it's something that somebody can learn to do very quickly. The premise, however, of a wholesaler is that they're buying a property at a deep discount and then reselling it quickly at a discount. So they're making the difference between a deep discount and the discount. It's really a story of the quick nickel is better than a slow dime. And what they're trying to do is basically turn this over quickly. Hey, Felipe. And I'm just saying hi to some of our folks on our Facebook Live page. But the challenge, needless to say, is that we're in a super hot market with super tight inventory, and therefore finding somebody that is, even if they're in distress right now, unless they're living under a rock or buried in their problems, they can simply, if they fairly price their property, put it on the market, and if they allow it to be adequately marketed, they can sell it, and doesn't have to be at a deep discount like you have to in most times in order to get a quick closing. So not a bad way to invest in real estate. In fact, quite a good way to invest in real estate, just not working really well right now because of the market conditions. And typically speaking, those deep discounts, 50 to 60% of the after repaired or market value, reflects a discount that most people are not willing to accept, unless, of course, they're so tight for time that they don't have another choice, or they just are out of communication, unable to market. So the next step up we talked about on Tuesday were those that buy properties at a discount, maybe that little discount from the wholesaler, and then they add value through upgrades, expansions, whatever work needs to be done, but something that they add value to the property, and thereby making now a profit mostly on the improvements they make. Rehabbers, flippers, whatever you want to call them. We talked about how that they are the darling of the TV shows. Probably of all the different types, the riskier of them all is that one right there. Also, one of the most profitable ones of them all, because if they can buy it at a discount, add value, sell it, and make it comparable to a brand new, freshly painted, fresh everything. Not just we're talking about new kitchens, new roofs, all practically a new house. And then they can sell it at the top value of the market, turnkey, bring your toothbrush kind of a thing. And there's a bigger profit, a bigger spread than that small spread that we talked about before. Now, they typically are looking to buy the property at somewhere between 70 to 80% of market value. A little bit easier to do in these days, and probably where you're seeing most of the investors going to right now. However, somebody that can pay more for a property and still be very profitable is the landlord. And that's where we kind of laid our foundation, saying that the landlord can even pay market value if, number one, they have the right financing. And the bottom line is the goal for a landlord is cash flow, right? Is ROI, how much money I put down and what kind of a return on the investment I'm going to get for that amount of money that I put down. And using financing often leverages up that rate of return. So if you're good at property management, if you're good at maintaining relationships between tenants and vendors and so forth, landlording might be just for you. Now, the cool thing about it, of course, you're talking to the automatic landlord. The cool thing about that is that you can outsource all of that work as long as you build that into your numbers. Remember here, the name of the game is cash flow. And that's where I'm going to leave it here before we go into our break. When we come back from our break, I want to talk a little bit about the U.S. rental market, like we talked about on Wednesday in our midweek report. I'm going to talk about some of the numbers and maybe go even a little bit deeper than I did on our Thursday ATM edition of the radio show. And I'm going to wrap it up with another article, which I found also to be very interesting. I think a great way to end our week-long conversation about landlords, so we can clear the table and set it brand new for a whole new conversation next week. Don't go away. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to the Real Estate Show's TGIF edition. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Ken, how are you? Ariel, I just saw your fancy shoes there on Facebook. Kind of fun to watch. Oh, we're on the break here. Tracy, how are you? Tracy Minch. And who else we got? We got a whole list of folks up there. Hey, Donald, how are you doing? Donald, Dave, Tracy, Felipe. You guys want to be on camera? So how are you guys doing? How's the real estate market treating you? Are you guys doing anything active right now? We have some fun things coming up. In fact, this let me look at this up. 8 states now make up half of the code. I get these pop-ups. But let's talk about when we come back. We have a number of workshops. We have our mortgage accelerator on Monday. We have our first-time homebuyers webinar. Now, this is cool. This is brand new. This is for those of you who are looking or want to sell a property to a first-time home buyer, get top dollar, because that's who will pay the most for a property these days. We're going to talk about how to get information on that. We're going to go with the DPA as the term word. If you want to text DPA to 561-861-2366. But we're coming back on our show right now. And welcome back. For those of you just joining us here on the Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate, America's longest running daily radio show about real estate, and where investors come to for the last 22 plus years to get information about real estate investing. And if you're listening to the first half of the program, you'll see exactly why we can say that. And we've got another half of the program here. We're going to talk about the U.S. rental market, the outlook. And as I said this week, now is a very good time to be involved in real estate investing. Now is a very good time to be involved in being a landlord. In other words, to buy and hold. I believe in all of the articles that I shared with you throughout the week, all also reinforce that fact. Yes, there will be cycles. Yes, we are going to see probably a little spike in, we will see a spike in the foreclosures when the moratoriums lift. We're already starting to see some of that go forward. When the evictions are finally allowed to go forward, you're going to see, some upheaval, probably lots of headlines saying that the end is now, jump, run from real estate. If that happens, I will tell you, swoop in. There are a couple of weeks back, we talked about the iBuyers, right? The institutional buyers, and how much money is sitting right now on the sidelines, exactly waiting for that. I can tell you a lot of our, of our clients, our friends, our colleagues in the real estate investment arena who are also waiting for that to happen. So I believe that while there will be some flexibility up and down in the marketplace, in the intermediate and certainly in the long term, with the demographics, the rising demand from millennials, the rising demand from other parts of the world, the rising demand from the metropolitan areas into the not so crowdly dense areas, not to mention the still record low interest rates, making affordability, so much more accessible. And as more and more the lenders have come out of their shells from the 2008, where they were super tight. So we've got a lot more qualified borrowers in the market today, much more solid mortgages because they were underwritten much more carefully after the 2008. So like I said, I see some strength in the marketplace beyond the eviction moratorium, which is why I shifted from that conversation. Still want to talk about it, still want to stay on top of that, and we want to be ahead of the curve. But the U.S. rental market is growing, and in even the construction that's going on is not keeping up with the demand. So we clearly have a low inventory scenario, even with new inventory coming on the marketplace. This is a more demand than there is supply. And although the federal government right now, is dealing with lots of other things that might be a higher priority, an ailing rental market would not be good, as real estate is and has been one of the pillars of the economy. It's usually one of the last parts of the economy to go, and one of the strongest parts of the economy when the economy is strong. So the thing that we have to watch, and of course, hopefully the thing that will help the most, is not by overfunding unemployment, but by promoting. That's why this infrastructure thing is actually something in the right direction if it's properly administered. Now, we heard, 8 years ago, all the shovel-ready projects and everything else that never came to fruition. In the last 6 years, we've seen a lot more of that come just by virtue of a hot economy. And once we get past this whole COVID pandemic thing and we can get back to work, there's a lot of parts of the economy that haven't rejoined yet, from the entertainment business to the restaurant, the food industry, still the airlines just coming back. There, everything from the whole travel industry, as a matter of fact, is still at a fraction of its capacity. So the more and more people, the more employment we have, the more people with income, and people with income can buy real estate and do. And as a result of that, remember, we're in the shelter business, one of the most basic things. So even in a compressing market, we're always going to have a need for shelter, which is why I love this business so much. So is that infrastructure bill going to be one of the, strengthening, or is it just going to add to the inflation? Whole other conversation. But the huge demand that we have for rentals and the large increase in pricing that it's causing makes being a landlord a pretty darn good thing. And my question often is, when would now be a great time to become a landlord? Here's some statistic. According to Zumper's June report, showed that rent prices are rising, and they're rising faster in big, expensive cities, contrary to the news that you hear of everyone fleeing the cities. Rent prices have risen 5% in San Francisco, Austin, Fort Lauderdale, St. Pete. And with stimulus checks and a return of economic activity, as states reopen, demand for rentals, especially in apartments that were abandoned last year. Remember, people getting out of these more densely populated structures is growing. So this bodes very well for the rental business, both mid-rise, high-rise, and especially for rental homes. And so I've got some really cool charts. Remember, this week I said text the word landlord if you wanted the report that I was talking about, that I'm getting a lot of this information from. Happy to share it with you. They're talking about also, as home prices skyrocket, a good portion of the population cannot compete for a home or condo purchases. That's where we started talking about the buyer's fatigue. And this is where rental market was really born. And today it's a fast and growing dynamic industry. A lot of people who would buy, if they could buy, are now sort of throwing their arms up and says, you know what, maybe now's not the time. Let's rent for another year and see what happens, which further boosts the rental market. And so you'll find out more on what's driving demand for rental property and why rent prices will not fall, but rise further as we leave the pandemic era, and fingers crossed there. This 2021 rental market report reveals market trends, demographics. I've talked a lot about that here on the radio show. Business challenges, which favor the rental market. In fact, remember, I talked about early in the pandemic about a potential rotation into more rental properties from commercial properties. Rent yields and returns are hot, and where opportunities might be for investors and landlords, which is why you want to keep it tuned in and join us every single day for your daily dose of the vitamin real estate. So those are some of the things. Now, of course, small landlords, believe it or not, still the backbone of the residential property industry. And this is where, I've been advocating here. And I know the National Association of Realtors is now advocating more for small landlords like you and I. And while big real estate corporations received infusions of stimulus cash, small landlords found rent default rates was a big problem. Receiving stimulus funds themselves was probably difficult, is very complicated, and they don't have the same professional staff that some of these larger corporate, like Invitation Homes, America's largest homeowner. So we all discovered how important local landlords are to the communities, and the government certainly can't keep up with all of this. Imagine, there's an estimate there's just some $70 billion in back rent. So far, they've only apportioned 45 of those billions. And so despite an unfair playing field, it's likely that small real estate investors and small business landlords will find a way to buy rental income properties and flourish in 2021, 2022, and this is a quote, and the next 5 years after that, which is why if you're listening to this and you take action, you're going to look back and say, I'm really glad I listened to the real estate show. I want to jump over to one more article because we're running out of time. But this one here, we're talking about the CDC's ban legally protects only renters, now the new one, who have suffered financially because of the pandemic. There's going to be proof that's going to be required, who are at risk of homelessness and who meet other criteria. So it's not an automatic. Landlords take refuge in this and make sure that you're aware and stay up to date with us. If you want to, you can contact us and we'll help point you into the right resources. Landlords say some tenants are abusing the eviction ban to live rent-free. True fact. I'm seeing it all the time. And that's why, I'm saying what I'm saying here on the air. Others cannot be evicted for any reason because of state. Like we said, California, New Jersey, and there were a list of 10 that I gave out last week who've enacted local rules enacted in response to the pandemic. Like it said here, it says, in general, it's a great time to be a real estate owner as residential property values have risen dramatically in many parts of the country. And it's an even better time to be a landlord. So if you want to get that report, type in the word landlord to 561-861-2366. If you want to have a conversation about becoming a landlord, regardless of your credit, regardless of your down payment, all I need to know is that between, if it's a single unit that you've got the rent to do it. If you want to partner on a property out there, I am looking for some more eyes and ears on the ground out there. Text the word landlord to 561-861-2366. Anyway, we're going to talk about first-time home buyers market again. We're going to talk about some of the issues, how to get around the whole credit. Now more than ever, credit is an issue. Lots of stuff coming on next week, but that's it for this week as we wrap up our Friday show. Remember, Sunday night, 9 p.m. for a recap of all of this week's show. And you can always contact us at 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. Or go directly to our website. Easy to remember, automaticlandlord.com. Until next week, this is Eric signing off. Drive safe, wash those hands, and make it a great day. Bye-bye. And there you have it. Very good. Thank you. And thank you. And thank you.